Welcome to 3B Farm. I'm a new farm channel and farm some conventional ways and other things maybe not so conventional. I like to experiment. So stay tuned to my channel and hopefully you can learn something and maybe I'll learn from you all too. Stay tuned. So welcome to 3B Farm. My name is Mark Stewart and I'm just going to throw out this video to begin with on my channel to kind of give you an introduction to my farm and, you know, show you how I do things in life. I've been in horticulture for, I don't know, close to 30 years, I guess. I have worked for one of the leading landscape architects in the country, doing stuff all over the country, or the eastern United States in any case. And I've been a grower for the majority of that time. I did a lot of different things in my life, and when I got into horticulture, it was just by accident as a way to fill things in between jobs, and I found that I really liked doing landscaping and growing plants and stuff, so it became my life's goal, and you know, it's just what I enjoy. I can do it all day long and come home and research and play with it after work, and I just really enjoy it. So several years ago I just decided, well, you know, I want to grow plants. I want to start a nursery. I was in Virginia at the time and married, so I just started. I couldn't afford to go back to school, so I started playing with growing everything I could get my hands on, from cutting seeds, you know, anything I could do. I got involved with the Master Gardener program, took some summer courses at Virginia Tech, and even spent time in tissue culture labs and all kinds of things. I had a lot of good experience there. Bought a library so I could learn. I've got tons and tons of books, and while I don't read to read per se, I do use them for research all the time, and I try to learn as much as I can on a daily basis. So I have a little bit of experience in the field. I don't know everything about everything. I like to learn something new every day or play with a new plant as often as I can. But I am growing a lot. A few years ago, I went through separation with my wife and lost the farm that I was building at the time. So I moved back to my family farm and have started putting a nursery together. And I thought eventually I was going to have to move again and start over, you know, on another piece of property, but they've decided to separate the family farm, so I'm getting some acreage here. So what I was building as a temporary farm will now become my permanent home, I guess. I need to get a couple of acres somewhere where I can do retail separate from the farm. I don't want to open up the farm to, you know, all the traffic and everything that will come along with the business end of it. But at least here I've got acreage where I can grow. So I'm starting to grow everything I can get my hands on in the hopes of within a year or two opening up my retail nursery and farm center. I grow a lot of fruit. I grow woody ornamentals in containers. I grow perennials. And last year I started growing bedding plants, you know, tomatoes, vegetables, all that kind of thing. And this year I'm going to start experimenting with the flowers as well. The first guy that I worked with on a large scale in Virginia, we had several greenhouses and we grew most all of our own annuals and perennials there. So I did have some experience to grow from. So anyway, I'm just going to take you through my journey in this business and just go maybe post a video every week, I hope, and show you what I'm going through on a weekly basis on 3B Farm. So stay tuned and I hope you enjoy the content. Now, moving back to my family home, you know, out of the front room, this is the view that we've always had growing up. We moved here since I was in junior high. And, you know, we're right on the top end of a ridge here, and the views and, you know, the wildlife. I mean, here's a bunch of turkeys and deer that I saw outside of my cabin one morning. It's just, you know, a real wonderful place to be growing up, and now to live here and know that part of this is going to be my permanent home for a while is just, you know, really good for my heart. Now we're just going to start walking around the nursery and just kind of giving you an idea of how I grow. These are cold frames. I mean, there's a lot of them in disrepair from when I moved them here, but basically I can get about 200 cuttings in each one of these. And I can produce about 5,000 or 6,000 woody ornamentals without turning over space in these each year. And here's just, you know, a couple pictures of a couple examples of the cold frames. I mean, some of these should have been moved up a year or two ago into 1 gallons, and I'm way behind in a lot of this, but now that I have a permanent home, I can, you know, proceed a little quicker. This bed here actually has heating coils under it, and I start a lot of hardwood cuttings in this and put plastic over this in the wintertime just to start hardwood cuttings. And walking down from the cabin, you can see in the distance here 3 tunnels. Two of them have plastic on it and one does not, which we'll get close-ups in a little bit. But you know, most of the actual growing space that I've been using is really back here in the woods. And over the last few years, I've picked up several glass and plastic greenhouses, and I have tons of steel here, which eventually I'm going to rebuild. And you can see one of the water storage tanks. There was a nursery that went out of business at one time. Here's a bunch of steel legs for one greenhouse and the beginning of my 1-gallon pots. You can see in the background the cabin that I'm kind of living in temporarily up here. And on the other side of that same pathway, you can see more pipe and steel and the beginning of more 1 gallons. A nursery was going out of business, and I was just able to pick up tons and tons of containers, which, you know, is going to be great in the next few years. These are just a bunch of 2 different types of spirea, and I have some dwarf lilacs in amongst some of this too. On the other side of the aisle, there's a 8-foot fenced-in area where I have perennials, and even though there's a lot of leaf cover in here, you can kind of guess that, you know, there's quite a bit of perennials in here. I don't know the numbers that I may have. And as we walk on down towards the hoop houses, I've got this area here where I have a bunch of boxwoods in here. There's some golden spireas in here. There's also some spruce trees in here. Inside the first small tunnel, this is mostly stuff going into 2 gallons. I mean, there's some rhododendrons in here. There's some, you know, ilex in here. There's some forsythia. There's just a bunch of different plants. And this tunnel here, I was really wanting to get under plastic before winter moved in this year. And, you know, typically winter hasn't been moving in till January here, but, you know, in November we've got snow on the ground, so it kind of hampered my process in this. I did start getting ground cover in here, and I've got some plants at the far end, but I've still got a good bit of work to do on this to get plastic on it, unfortunately, and now I'm in the cold doing it. And the third tunnel, back behind all that, is stuff that I moved up from cold frames into 1-gallon pots. And there's just, you know, a lot of different types of plants in here. I do have some rabbit pressure, and they have chewed off a few things in here, so I was glad to get it under plastic to kind of protect them from that. And in this area over here, I have more steel from another greenhouse. I had bought a 40 by 120 foot and took it down for a couple $1,000s several years ago. So I'm hoping this next year to maybe start getting this frame back up. I bought this used soil mixer and conveyor belt several years ago, and I've never had the ability to hook it up. I'm debating turning it into a, you know, be able to hook it up to my tractor to run this versus electric motors. And as I turn around to the other side, I do have one small tunnel that I turn into a high tunnel to grow vegetables in. And you can see on the left-hand side, here's a small little tunnel that I grow strawberries in. And for my cuttings, I have tons and tons of mother plants. So there's also some of the mother plants planted in there. And I started putting this area and expanding it this last year because I'm starting to move some stuff up into 3 gallons. So this is the shot from one end of that storage area, and this is from the other end of that storage area. And there's tons of Weigelias. There's some Thuya, Chamaecyparis, Leylands, a whole bunch of different things through this area that need more work than I've been able to keep up with at this point. Across a little road that goes back into my cabin there, I started doing this fenced-in area because I want to go ahead and get fruit trees in the ground. So there, on the left-hand side of this is another road that's an access road back through the farm. So I'm doing this little triangle on that side, and then across that road I'm going to do another triangle on the other side, which squares me off to that tree line. And then from where it squares off to the tree line, I'm going to do the greenhouse back beyond that. Or at least that's my plans right now. So there you have a short, sweet introduction to 3B Farms. Like I said earlier, I think, my name is Mark Stewart. You know, my farm is really in a huge disarray at the moment. But I have a lot of projects to go through to bring this thing, you know, back to a neat, orderly state. With all the outside jobs I have to pay my bills till this is up and running and making me money, my time is far more limited here in the nursery and the farm than what I would like it to be. So each week I'm just gonna, you know, show you the processes that I'm going through to bring this up and spend the time here to get everything under control. You know, I'm getting ready to start seeds here before long, and I've already ordered my seeds for all the vegetables and some of the flowers for next year. So I think my first set of videos is just going to be to explain how I'm starting all that, because I don't have a greenhouse yet at this point. And like I said, I like to experiment. So anyway, I do have an indoor area where I can set up shelves and grow lights and that type of thing to get seeds started for the farmer's market early in the spring, so I can sell seedlings here in the county. You know, in this county, which is Barber County, West Virginia, you've got to go a long ways to get plants and stuff. That was one of my reasons for wanting to come back here and start this. If you're wanting shrubbery, there's a small grower that carries a lot of bedding plants and stuff in Elkins, West Virginia. And from here it's only about 15-20 miles, but for shrubbery, and they do carry a few shrubs in the spring, but not a very wide variety, you've got to go over an hour or so away from here. So everybody in this county has to go to other counties to get you know, any type of green supplies. So I think, you know, the market's here for a nursery business, and you know, I'm kind of diversifying. I don't like having all my eggs in one basket. So, you know, I am going to grow some fruit. I did real well last year with strawberries and blackberries, and blueberries do well as well. Eventually I'd like to open up some more fields as I expand to do some pick your own as far as the fruits go. The orchards are going to be a few years really before they put on much fruit, but eventually there'll be all the orchard fruit as well. And you know, I experiment with some things. I've got honeyberries that I'm growing, you know, just odd things here and there that I'm going to try and see how they catch on in the market. You know, West Virginia, especially this area, is way behind where larger cities and people that have more progressive-minded thinking are. So to proceed into some areas of the business that I possibly could will not really be financially, you know, a good option for a while till I get up and running to where it doesn't really matter if I spend some money on that, because I've got other income to cover, you know, the expenses that I have. So for the time being, I'm going to just head in the general directions of what the people in this area need. As you're starting a nursery business or any type of green business, you really need to learn your market. I mean, I'll go into that in future episodes of what I've already learned about this area here, but you really need to know your market. There's some things that just are not going to sell here, so why grow them? Whereas if I was an hour and a half away in some, you know, the capital city of the state in Charleston, or even up in Morgantown where the university is, where there's a larger population, those things might sell in those areas. They're just not going to sell here in Barber County, you know, very minimal, at least anyway. So anyway, thank you for coming and sharing this time with me. I hope you'll join the channel, and if you're wanting to be a grower out there in the field, hopefully I can teach you something. If nothing else, just how to grow stuff for your own home, garden, landscape, or anything like that. It's a whole lot cheaper to grow your own stuff than it is to buy stuff out there in the world. So you know, you can save a lot of money by doing this. So whether you're doing it on a small scale or a large scale, I hope you'll come back in the future and spend time with me, and we can learn together and grow together. So thank you again for coming back, and join my channel. Like and subscribe if you would. It helps my analytics and it'll help me grow. You know, I'd like for the channel to grow. I'd like for people to get the information. You know, I watch a lot of YouTube on certain subjects just for learning aspects, and you know, there's good ones out there and there's not so good ones out there. So, you know, I'm not saying I know everything, but I enjoy what I do, and I have experimented a lot, and I do have some years in the horticulture field. So, you know, hopefully you can learn, and this will help you in whatever endeavors you choose to pursue. So thanks again. Come back and join me for my next episode.